After the real sun returned, I suddenly started hearing the whole family's inner thoughts. My sister, Chloe, looked at me with a placid expression, but her thoughts were anything but, since we're not actually related, he should just have a baby with me. The moment my younger sister, Zoe, got home, I heard her inner monologue. Chloe's not home tonight, so it's my turn in his room. The real son, Liam, muttered to himself while passing me a piece of pot roast. I'm going to crawl under their bed and watch the 1v2 live show. When the system dropped me here, it only said my mission was to get along harmoniously with the real son's family before hastily shoving me out the door. As the fake son, I was terrified the first time I saw Chloe Walker and the darkness in her eyes. I grabbed hold of the system. When are you coming back for me? The system gave me a sorrowful look and said, my dear boy, the adult-rated worlds are malfunctioning. The content is so extreme I was afraid it would traumatize you. Just remember, you've got the wholesome family drama script, so you'll be fine. And with that, it vanished. Chloe stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, a weary look in her eyes, idly chatting with the director of the foster home. I walked over slowly. She gave me a quick once-over, then nodded to the director. She led the way, and I scurried to keep up behind her. Remembering this was supposed to be a wholesome family script, I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and reached out to take her hand, calling out softly, Chloe. Her hand was cool to the touch, and she clearly faltered for a second. I gently clasped her hand and matched her pace, step for step. She was so tall and I was so small back then that I had to break into a little trot just to keep up. After the SATs were over, Chloe started spending more and more time at home, sometimes even sharing the study with me. I always felt a little awkward and thought I should find something to occupy myself. At the dinner table, I brought it up, Chloe, what if I go look for a summer job? Chloe glanced up at me, placing a piece of chicken on my plate. Need money? I shook my head. No, that's not it. Why was this supposed to be a wholesome family script? Why was I still so afraid of Chloe? I fidgeted with my hands. I just wanted to get out of the house. But before I could finish, I saw Chloe's brow furrow, her eyes turning dark as she set down her fork to stare at me. I immediately backpedaled, but then I remembered how hot it is outside. It's much better at home with the AC, and with you. Chloe stood up, patting my head. Now that's more like it. After she went upstairs, I secretly wondered, according to the script, the real son was due back this summer. So how was I supposed to win this family over, to blend in and live a happy, harmonious life with them? The doorbell rang, and Zoe was home. I was a few months older than Zoe, but she'd already secured an early admission scholarship, so she didn't have to take the SATs. Everyone in this family was written to be ridiculously intelligent. But Zoe, unlike her sister, was like an energetic puppy, always doting on me. Today, however, she seemed listless. Ethan, there's someone at the door who's been waiting for you. Zoe sounded a bit impatient. I went outside and saw a girl from my high school class. She looked like she'd been waiting a while and finally blurted out, what university did you choose? Or just tell me what city. That's all I need to know. My sister enrolled me in a university here in Boston. Her eyes lit up as she handed me a small gift box. Happy graduation, and don't forget to come to the grad party. Before I could even reply, I glanced up and saw Chloe standing on the second-floor balcony. She stood there, a flicker of darkness passing through her eyes. I didn't accept the gift, quickly said my goodbyes, and hurried back inside. The moment I was through the door, I saw Chloe coming down the stairs, her expression tangled with irritation. I changed my shoes, scratching an itch on my neck, feeling uneasy. Chloe, my friend, left, so I'm just going to head up to bed. Come here. Her tone made it clear she wasn't to be messed with. I walked over, my neck still itching, and I scratched it again. Chloe opened the medicine cabinet and pointed to my neck. It's a bug bite. I used the reflection on my phone screen to look, and sure enough, there was a huge welt. My sister took out a cotton swab, dabbed it in some white ointment and said, tilt your head back. That scared the hell out of me. Thank God I was in a wholesome family drama. Otherwise, from the terrifyingly dark look Chloe just gave me, I would have sworn I'd been dropped into some possessive, not quite incest thriller. I tilted my head back gently as Chloe cupped the back of my neck with one hand while applying the ointment with the other. A faint scent of vanilla mixed with something medicinal filled my senses, and my whole body went rigid, my mind buzzing. From this angle, I had a perfect view down the front of Chloe's slightly unbuttoned shirt, at her pale skin and the soft curve of her chest. Don't move, just relax, Chloe said, and as if to help me, the pads of her fingers began to gently massage the back of my neck. My mind flashed to an inappropriate image, and a wave of heat washed over my entire body. The cool ointment felt like a lifeline, but a strange sensation still crept up my spine. I couldn't relax at all. I barely dared to breathe. When Chloe finally let go, my face was flushed and I let out a huge breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. I tried to calm myself down. It's a wholesome family script. It's fine. While guiltily watching Chloe put everything back in the medicine cabinet. Her expression was cool and detached. I had clearly been overthinking things. I composed myself and said, trying to sound appreciative, "Thanks, Chloe." The sharp edge in her eyes seemed to soften a little. "You're so sensitive. You shouldn't go out so late." It was hard not to read into her words. I tried to reason it out. From her perspective, I was her biological brother, so she must have just meant that the mosquitoes are bad in the summer and I'm prone to bites. That had to be it. Chloe went back to her room, and as I was coming out of the shower, I heard her on the phone. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I clearly heard the words, "foster home." It was over, my cover was blown, the real sun was coming back. Chloe's door was slightly ajar, and I pressed my ear to the crack. Her voice grew quieter and quieter until there was only a silent stillness. But I knew she hadn't hung up. I could hear the faint hum of an open line, and a feeling like venomous scorpions crawling all over my skin washed over me. The feeling of a thief who, after years of getting away with it, was finally caught. Considering how much Chloe doted on her brother, would she now despise me? Could I still salvage my wholesome family script? Just as I was thinking this, the door swung open. A sliver of dim light cut through the hallway, and I was caught, staring right into Chloe's cold, silent eyes. "I dropped something," I explained immediately. With her arms crossed, Chloe looked down at me as I fumbled around on the floor. She raised an eyebrow, seemingly waiting to see what elaborate lie I would come up with. I stammered for a moment, picking at my fingers, before finally mustering my courage and saying in a tearful voice, "My cover's blown. Are you going to kick me out?" My eyes welled up and my nose began to sting. I couldn't believe I had confessed so quickly. Maybe it was because the system was still busy fixing its adulterated worlds and wasn't there to back me up, or maybe it was just that, in front of Chloe, I was incapable of lying. I just looked too honest. Chloe looked at me, tilting her head slightly, her breath catching in her throat as if she were forcefully suppressing some powerful emotion. Her voice was low as she said, "Put your clothes on properly. We'll talk about this tomorrow." It was only then I realized that my loose pajama top had gaped open while I was on the floor, leaving my chest exposed. I flushed with embarrassment, pouted, and scrambled to my feet to head back to my room. Zoe suddenly popped her head out of her room. "Ethan, you'll come watch my volleyball game tomorrow, right?" She was leaning against the doorframe, her head tilted up to look at me. "You have no idea. I thought you're about to get a new brother." I sighed. "All right." I patted Zoe's head, thinking to myself that I had to stick to this wholesome family script no matter what. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but when Chloe saw me pat Zoe's head, her gaze seemed to darken. "So now that you know I'm not family, I can't even pat her head. Is that it?" From across the dimly lit hallway, I gave her head a few more defiant pats. Zoe's eyes lit up. "Ethan likes patting my head." I forced an awkward smile. "Yeah, I do." The moment the words left my mouth, I felt like Chloe was about to lunge at me, so I quickly spun around and darted into my room. The medicinal scent from the ointment on my neck was soothing, and I started to feel drowsy. In my dream, a warm hand wrapped around my waist from behind, kneading gently. It tickled, and I tried to squirm away, but that only seemed to encourage them. They gripped my shoulders and pressed down on me. "Be good. Call me Chloe." Sleep paralysis, where the demon demands you call it by your sister's name? What kind of messed up dream was this? I frowned, trying to roll over, but then I felt a gentle bite on my collarbone that made me flinch. Finally, she gripped the back of my head and kissed me, a fierce and domineering kiss that left me breathless. Just as I felt I was about to suffocate, she pulled back, her warm breath ghosting over my ear. "Call me Chloe." I mumbled, "Chloe, I'm tired." The torment finally stopped. She pulled me into her arms, patting my back gently. "Go to sleep, my little liar." I woke up the next morning with a dry mouth and immediately chugged the glass of water from my nightstand. Strange, how was it still warm after sitting out all night? Was the housekeeper, Mr. Henderson, really that attentive? I really was going to miss this life of being pampered. I rubbed my eyes and suddenly noticed on the system's interface that my completion progress had jumped to 10%. The progress bar, which had been stuck for ages, had finally come back to life. I called out, "System, still offline." I licked the corner of my mouth, wincing at a sharp pain. I rushed to the bathroom mirror and leaned in close. My lip was split and swollen. The welt on my neck was gone, but had it somehow migrated to my mouth? Were the bugs in this house really that venomous? I splashed some water on my face, and as I was drying it, I saw Chloe leaning against the bathroom doorframe. "We're waiting for you for breakfast." I mumbled an "oh" Then, remembering the phone call about the foster home, I asked her quietly, "You're not going to kick me out, are you? I promise I won't cause any trouble or compete for attention. I'll move into the basement when he gets here." I couldn't read her expression. She just looked at me blankly and blinked. She raised an eyebrow, gesturing for me to continue. I rubbed my hands together awkwardly, preparing to be completely shameless. "I'll get a job and earn my own keep. I can even pay you rent every month. Is that okay? I really don't have anywhere else to go." After a long moment, Chloe let out a soft chuckle. "All right then, you can stay and work off your debt." Wow, the difference between being family and not was huge. Just yesterday she was tenderly applying ointment, and today I was in her debt. But at least staying here meant I still had a chance to complete my mission. I gave her an obsequious smile, licking my still swollen lip. "Thank you, Chloe." Chloe's gaze fell on me, her eyes seeming to darken as she stared at my mouth. Crap, what if she didn't want an outsider calling her by her first name so familiarly? I quickly corrected myself. "Thank you, Ms. Walker." Chloe watched me, silent for a moment before saying, "I still prefer it when you call me Chloe." A wicked glint appeared in her eyes, and I thought I saw her swallow. The whole thing felt strangely familiar. I thought as I ate my oatmeal, but I couldn't place where I'd heard that low, coaxing tone before. I nodded along absently as Zoe chattered away. Finally, she looked at me, her eyes shining. "Ethan, are you ready to go?" I asked her where we were going, and her expression immediately fell. "Weren't you going to come watch my volleyball game?" I coughed. She had mentioned it yesterday, and I realized she'd probably just been talking about it again. I didn't want to disappoint Zoe, and besides, Chloe was probably going to pick up the real son today. My being there would just spoil their long-awaited reunion. As for the easygoing Zoe, she probably wouldn't mind having an extra guy around the house working off a debt. I looked to Chloe and asked, "Is it okay if I go?" Chloe gave a non-committal shrug, but Zoe was already pulling me by the arm. "Come on, Ethan, let's go." I practically fled with Zoe. Zoe pushed me into the car and handed me a yogurt smoothie. "You barely ate anything? Are you that scared of my sister?" The smoothie was cold, and the inside of the car was filled with Zoe's fresh, clean scent. That cleared my head a bit, and I realized she had said my sister, whereas before, she would have said our sister. I asked her, "You know?" She nodded. Clearly, she knew I wasn't the real Ethan Walker. Zoe kept driving, not pressing the issue. As the car moved along, I paused before confessing, "My real name is Ethan Vance. I was mistaken for Ethan Walker for, well, complicated reasons. Zoe, Chloe, and I have an agreement. I'm staying to work off my debt." I brought up Chloe, as if afraid Zoe would try to kick me out herself. The bottom line was my mission wasn't complete, so I couldn't leave. I'd stay by being shameless if I had to. Zoe watched my uncomfortable expression for a moment, a small smile playing on her lips. "Ethan, I can help you with the debt. How about I take care of you?" As if she was afraid I wouldn't believe her, she added, "I have plenty of money. I just launched my own startup." It was like my throat closed up. All my shameless determination fizzled out on the spot. "So you're just going to ignore me? Ethan, why are you so dense?" She spoke with a slow, easy cadence that had a natural, tomboyish charm. I pinched the bridge of my nose. It all felt so unreal. Was my wholesome family script really going to be completed this easily? Zoe found me a seat in the bleachers and gave me a wink. "I'm number 10, Ethan." She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a low drawl. "And if you even think about giving a water bottle to anyone else, I'll be very upset." She'd brought me here just to be her personal water boy. What on earth was Zoe playing at? She waved at me from the court. She was striking, tall and long-limbed with a great figure, looking even leaner than Chloe. During a timeout, a bunch of younger guys rushed over to offer her water, their faces red with blushing. With that many admirers, she clearly didn't need me. I watched the scene with a sense of relief. She was certainly popular. I saw from a distance that she didn't accept a single bottle. One of the guys was blushing so hard he looked like he might burst, but Zoe didn't budge, just shot a look in my direction. What was that about? She looked thirsty. Why wasn't she drinking? The whistle blew, and Zoe went back onto the court. In the second half, Zoe played with a ferocity that bordered on vicious, turning the game into a complete rout. The final whistle blew, and after her last triumphant high school game, Zoe came over to me. She was drenched in sweat, her eyes glistening and a little red-rimmed as she grabbed the water bottle next to me and started drinking. I already drank from that. Before I could finish my sentence, she had already downed half the bottle. Zoe finished with a light laugh. I was dying of thirst. I tried to hide my awkwardness. "Well, glad you're not dead." She asked me point blank, "Ethan, why didn't you bring me water?" I explained, but I saw a ton of people trying to give you water. I only wanted it from you." A long silence followed. Zoe stretched her long legs out in front of her, a picture of lazy comfort. I asked, "When are we heading back?" Zoe didn't answer, which made things even more awkward. The moment I stood up, Zoe swung her long legs out to block my path. "Ethan, did Chloe go into your room last night?" Her gaze was unnervingly cold. "What did she do to you? Don't you know?" I unconsciously touched my lip, but Zoe grabbed my hand, her grip tight on my wrist. "Did she kiss you?" It finally clicked. The dream where someone kept pestering me to call her Chloe, was it not a dream after all? Zoe leaned in close, her body pressing against mine as she whispered hotly, "Ethan, I want one too." The game was long over, the huge volleyball court was empty, and Zoe was saying the most outrageous things. She twisted my wrist until it hurt, and I hissed, "Zoe, stop messing around." My phone started ringing, and Zoe gave me a strange look. She shifted her position and kissed me. My body went stiff, my mind reeling. The phone kept ringing until she finally pulled away. Breathing heavily, Zoe answered the phone for me. "Chloe." Her voice was husky as she spoke into the phone. There was a second of silence on the other end before a voice asked, "Where's Ethan?" Zoe continued in that same husky voice, "He's right here with me. It's not a good time for us." I snapped out of it and grabbed the phone back. "Not a good time for what?" "Chloe." I quickly added, "Is everything okay?" Zoe was smiling at me, but her eyes were cold, carrying a chillingly aggressive glint. Then, in a voice just loud enough for the phone to pick up, she said, "Ethan, I'm all sweaty. I'm going to go take a shower." And with a long stride, she headed for the locker room showers. On the other end of the line, Chloe had clearly heard, her breath hitched, and a suppressed emotion finally erupted. "Is this how you're planning to work off your debt?" "No, no, no." But before I could finish, she hung up. This was all wrong, completely and utterly wrong. I stood in the empty gym and called for the system for what felt like an eternity, but there was only silence. "Seriously, you've been offline for ages. Are you still trying to fix those adulterated worlds?" "Wait a minute, adulterated worlds." When I woke up this morning, my completion progress was at 10%. But after Zoe kissed me and had that provocative phone call with Chloe, the interface in my head suddenly flashed, and the progress bar jumped from 10% to 25%. I was stunned. Why did kissing Zoe make the progress bar go up? Could it be, I was starting to seriously doubt whether I was in a wholesome family drama or some kind of twisted romance plot. Zoe came out of the shower smelling faintly of lime seltzer, the atmosphere in the car was tense, and I was on pins and needles in the passenger seat. After a long silence, I asked, "Do you think I'll even get into college?" It was a completely random question, and it made the atmosphere even colder. I clenched my fists as a bold theory, based on the sudden jump in my progress bar, began to form in my mind. I said, "Zoe, I have a crazy idea. Pull the car over." Zoe pulled over, and I unbuckled my seatbelt. Determined to test my theory, I leaned in and kissed her. As our lips met, I stared intently at the interface in my mind and saw something astonishing. The progress bar started to climb steadily. 25%, 35%, 45%. Oh my God. This was the system's idea of a wholesome family mission? Zoe's eyes were shining. She was a gentle and skilled teacher, her hand cradling the back of my head. The kiss was all-consuming, leaving my legs weak and my mind foggy. I clung weakly to Zoe, my hands on her shoulders, as the progress bar hit 55%. Seeing the number on the panel, I kissed her more deeply, responding to her every move, my heart hammering in my chest. I felt like I was about to suffocate, but the number on the panel was stuck. It wasn't moving at all. What was happening? The faint scent of lime filled my nose, and I shivered as a jolt of electricity shot through me. Our breathing grew more ragged. Could it be that Zoe was? Fine. I made up my mind. I gasped for air and said, "Let's get a room." Zoe looked at me and a smirk played on her lips. She buckled my seatbelt for me and hit the gas. From the moment we got out of the car, Zoe kept a firm grip on my hand, as if she was afraid I'd change my mind and bolt. I caught my reflection in a mirrored pillar in the hotel lobby. My pale neck was flushed a deep pink. I touched my burning face. It was so red, and at least half of that was from pure anger. I cursed the system internally. "I trusted you, and this is how you repay me?" Zoe looked at me and squeezed my hand tighter. I put on a look of grim determination. Without any warning, she started to laugh. I glared at her. "Open the door." Zoe opened the door to the hotel room and gestured for me to enter. She said in a low, teasing drawl, "It's my first time too, Ethan. You're not the one losing out here. Get it over with quickly." I thought, closing my eyes and leaning in for another kiss. Once this mission was over, I didn't care what the reward was. I was never doing this again. The system was completely unreliable. Zoe's breathing was heavy, her eyes flushed, and she said between gasps, "Ethan, this is your last chance to say stop." I glanced at the progress bar, still stuck at 55%, and hardened my resolve. It seemed simple kissing had reached its limit. I needed to do something more to get the progress bar moving again. "We're already here, what's the hold up? Can't you perform?" I was trying to push Zoe towards the bed when suddenly, there was a loud banging on the door. Not knocking, pounding. Interrupted. I looked at Zoe, flustered and annoyed. "I'll get it." Zoe stopped me. "Don't." Her voice was low and husky. "Let's continue." But with the banging and kicking at the door, the mood was completely ruined. I pushed Zoe away and ran a hand through my messy hair as I walked to the door. Zoe moved to stand in front of me, opening the door with a face as beautiful and grim as a death mask. Chloe blocked my view with her body. I couldn't see who was there. I tugged on the hem of Zoe's shirt, but she remained motionless, a dead, still silence spreading through the room. Finally, the person spoke, "Paying off your debt in bed, are we?" The voice was low and terrifying. My knees almost buckled. It was Chloe. That zombie apocalypse level racket had all been Chloe. I was truly speechless. I looked at Zoe, trying to signal with my eyes, "Maybe we should both just kneel?" Zoe remained stubbornly silent, her expression a mask of frustrated desire. Finally, a clear, bright voice broke the tension. "Oh, it's you." My legs really did give out then. The real son was back. The real son, Liam, helped me up. "Mr. Henderson made dinner. Chloe said we should all eat together. So we came to find you and Zoe." He took my hand. "Everyone's here now. Let's go home for dinner." Dude, is this really the time to be talking about dinner? We should be discussing whether or not I get to keep my head. To keep me away from Zoe, Chloe deliberately shoved me into her car. Liam and Zoe took the other car. I felt like the air in the car was toxic. I'd die if I didn't breathe, but I'd also die if I did. As I was sweating bullets, I heard that familiar electronic hum. The long-lost system was back. "My boy, we have a huge problem." My heart was already dead. I could handle any bad news at this point. The adult-rated worlds have completely collapsed. It's a total mess I can't fix. I was hoping to hide out here with you, but it turns out you're in an adult-rated script too. I got it wrong from the very beginning. You're not mad at me, are you, my boy? I responded flatly. How do I file a complaint against the system? Don't do that. I see your completion rate is already at 55%. My boy, let's not turn our backs on the money, okay? It's $50 million. I sighed, rubbing the bridge of my nose, and shot a guilty glance at Chloe, preparing to discuss a new strategy with the system. Chloe's pale knuckles were white on the steering wheel as she said suddenly, "It's not too late to admit you were wrong." "Wrong about what?" Chloe frowned and accelerated. The system yelled in my head, "My boy, don't provoke her. I've finally figured out the rules of this world. You were right. The key to completing this mission is Chloe. Her possessiveness and jealousy are the fuel for the progress bar. The more intimate you are with Zoe, the more it hurts her, and the more it hurts, the more she wants to possess you. That's why your progress shot up from 10% to 55%. That 55% is all thanks to Chloe." What? It clicked instantly, and I turned to Chloe. "I was wrong, Chloe. It's just that I love you so much I don't know what I'm doing." The system added, "My bad for not telling you sooner. You're technically supposed to be pursuing both of them, but Chloe is the main target, and Zoe is the catalyst to advance the main plot. But be careful. Zoe isn't an NPC. If you keep using her like this and she gives up on you completely, you'll lose your catalyst. So eventually, you'll have to find a way to get her on your side, to get her to willingly help you with the act." No wonder kissing Zoe for so long did nothing. The progress bar stopped at 55% because Chloe's jealousy had hit a threshold. I needed a new, bigger stimulus. I couldn't believe it. I asked the system, "So my progress with Chloe is already at 55%. How did that happen?" The system went silent, and then I remembered. I muttered, "That night, I was perfectly calm now. I want to die." The system said placatingly, "Don't die. I'll give you a cheat code. You can now hear the inner thoughts of the other three. My boy, this world hasn't collapsed yet, so keep going. You have to complete the mission. Otherwise, if this plot collapses too, I'm afraid you really won't be able to handle the consequences." After activating the mind-reading cheat, the first thing I heard when we got home was Chloe's inner voice. "I only found out yesterday that we're not related, and today he's already getting a hotel room with Zoe." I pouted, "We're all adults, so what's the big deal?" Zoe trudged upstairs without a word. Liam cheerfully called me over to the dinner table. I was about to thank him when I heard his inner thought. Better get your strength up. I'm hoping for a 1v2 live show tonight. I was so scared my fork clattered to the floor. Seriously, are your tastes really that twisted? All the other players were showing their hands, but I still couldn't get a read on Chloe. All I knew was that she seemed furious. Seriously, what kind of carbon-based life form comes up with a plot like this? How is it possible to successfully pursue two sisters at the same time? The system snickered in my mind. We have all kinds of scenarios in our little worlds. I shot back, then why don't you do it yourself? The system immediately went quiet. Logically, shouldn't the real son's return have kicked off some dramatic, bloody fight for the family's affection? As I was thinking this, Liam heard the doorbell, jumped up, and ran to the door, saying with a huge smile, "Mom's here." It was over. My status as the fake son was about to be even more humiliating. I looked guiltily towards the door. Why wasn't she coming in? I fidgeted with my hands, feeling incredibly anxious. Maybe I should just kneel now and get it over with? My life of groveling before the walkers was truly pathetic. Just then, Chloe handed me a fork, her face still dark. "After all that drama today, you're not hungry?" Terrified under her gaze, I took a bite of pot roast. Chloe thought, I think I scared him. I wanted to tell her, "Lady, I feel like this is my last meal on earth." Liam ran back in. "Come on, my mom brought gifts for everyone." I put down my fork. "Isn't your mom coming in?" Liam exclaimed, dropping a bunch of shopping bags on the sofa. "Oh, that was my adoptive mother. She's in a rush to get to a conference overseas, so don't take it personally." I let out a long sigh of relief that had scared me half to death. Chloe said sullenly, "If you have a clear conscience, you have nothing to be afraid of." I didn't dare respond. I just complained to the system. Chloe's personality has changed. She's so passive-aggressive now. I didn't know if she was talking about me impersonating her brother or going to the hotel with Zoe. Either way, I was in deep trouble. Liam must have noticed my lack of enthusiasm, because he passed me some more food and said, "It's like fate, you know? You're Ethan Vance. I'm Ethan Walker. It's an easy mistake to make. Besides, my adoptive parents are amazing to me, and they're even richer than Chloe." I felt a sting in my nose. Ever since I was dropped into this fake son script, I had been living with 5 years of guilt. Even though I'd used all my points to ensure Liam was adopted into a 1-in-a-million family, they weren't his real parents. I had stolen 5 years of his life. And now the real Ethan Walker was back. The system sensed my dejection and said, "Don't be so hard on yourself. Didn't the Walker family go bankrupt 3 years ago? You and Chloe were crammed into one tiny room. You were practically starving. Liam never had to go through that. Even though I was just following the script, I had still caused real harm." I looked at Liam seriously. "I'm sorry." Liam just smiled. Apology accepted. "I'm so sorry, Liam," I thought, "and I promise, as soon as this mission is over, I'll be out of your hair for good." I dutifully moved my things downstairs. The only thing I took with me was a photo of myself and Chloe. It was from my birthday 3 years ago, back when we were living in a tiny apartment, just the two of us. After the family went bankrupt, their parents had taken Zoe and gone to try and pull some strings, leaving me and Chloe alone in that cramped little place. The weather was cold, and Chloe had squatted down next to me and taken a black and white photo with an old camera. She had rubbed my cold, red hands, handed me the photo and said, "Happy birthday, grow up big and strong, and I'll make sure you have a good life." The family upstairs was asleep, and I looked around the messy downstairs room, not knowing where to start. Zoe, apparently locked in her room by Chloe, was blowing up my iMessage. Should I break down the door and come rescue you? Knowing I'd already succeeded with Zoe, I lay on the couch and texted her back, "I don't think we're a good match." Zoe replied instantly, "Asterisk, we haven't even done anything and you're already saying we're not a good match? Are you just playing with me? Asterisk, is it my sister you like?" The messages came in a rapid-fire burst. If that's what you want to think, I can't stop you, I thought. Sometimes I felt like a real jerk. Too lazy to clean up, I decided to just crash on the couch. I woke up in the middle of the night, thirsty, and as my eyes adjusted, I saw a slender figure standing on the patio. The system screamed in my head, "A ghost!" I was so startled I threw a couch pillow. Before I could even yell for help, the figure turned, catching the pillow with one hand while extinguishing a cigarette with the other. It was a beautiful face. It was Chloe, which scared me even more. What was she doing down here? As she approached, I shrank back into the couch cushions. I couldn't hear her thoughts, but her expression was complicated. She handed the pillow back to me and asked, "Why do you have that old black and white photo?" "What photo?" I followed her gaze to the coffee table, where the photo of me and her as a child was sitting. Our surroundings in the photo were shabby, but I was smiling brightly. I couldn't just throw it out with the rest of my things. That would be weird for Liam, and for her. It would be weird for her too. I just came across it, and it felt like bad luck to tear it up. Chloe's voice was icy. You were going to tear it? But I didn't, did I? Chloe's gaze shifted from the photo to me. Her stare was intense, carrying a kind of tingling heat. The system piped up, perfect opportunity, you're all alone. Make your move. I felt so awkward. This was just too much, but someone had to make the first move. I reached out, my fingers gently brushing against her hand, and whispered, Chloe. Chloe's eyelashes fluttered, and a flicker of some unreadable emotion passed through her eyes. I closed my eyes and leaned in, but in an instant, she snatched the photo from the table. Her expression turned cold, and she walked back upstairs. Just before she was out of range, I heard her thought, does he want both of us, me and Zoe? It sounded like she was angry, but for a reason I couldn't quite grasp. I was shocked. I make a move, and she just leaves? The system sighed. She's probably jealous. This has to be the most chaste, adult-rated world I've ever seen. She has the face of a villainess from a dark romance, but she's playing it like a sweet, pure love story. Weren't you the one who snuck into my bed in the middle of the night? I thought. The good news was that Zoe felt played and was now giving me the silent treatment. The bad news was that Chloe was also ignoring me. I asked the system what to do. Why couldn't I get back in Chloe's good graces? How have you been trying to win her over? I've tried to kiss her so many times my lips are sore, but she won't let me get close. Don't just try to force a kiss, you have to win her over with love. Fine. If Chloe wasn't going to play the aggressor anymore, then I would. I put on a nice blazer and headed for the door. I have a reunion tonight. Don't wait up for me for dinner. Liam glanced from Chloe's face to mine. Zoe immediately shot up. Is it that girl who was at our door the other day? I'm coming too. I waved her off. You don't have to. I'm taking a car. Zoe smiled, but her eyes darkened. You're being so cruel, Ethan. Chloe raised an eyebrow but said nothing as I left, but the air around her felt heavy and volatile. Just before I left, I heard Liam's inner thought, here we go. My man is finally making a move. I got myself completely drunk and then called Chloe. Chloe, I'm drunk. A little bit of drunk acting can go a long way. Call a cab. Why are you calling me? Her tone was ice cold. 10 minutes later, I saw Chloe, her eyes burning with intensity. Such a stubborn woman. I pretended to be dizzy and weak, stumbling into her arms, and was immediately enveloped in her cool, woody scent. I whispered in her ear, Chloe, I want that black and white photo. Why? Her gaze was deep and fiery, as if it could swallow me whole. I could feel the heat radiating from her, and I nuzzled against her ear. Chloe, let's go home. Liam and Zoe weren't home. I had called Liam earlier and asked him to take Zoe out. Liam had wished me luck. The moment Chloe opened the door, I pushed her against the wall and kissed her. She didn't pull away, but she didn't respond either. When my lips were numb, she finally looked at me, her voice thick with emotion. Why do you want the photo? And then I heard her thought, did you do this with Zoe too? I looked her straight in the eye and said seriously, no, Chloe, only with you. So that's what she wanted, a direct, unambiguous answer. All the fight went out of me. I wrapped my arms around her neck. Chloe, I want the photo, and I want you. I didn't have the energy to check the progress bar anymore. I just held her tight. By the time Liam and Zoe got home, I was dressed again. The meticulously clean living room and the freshly changed slipcover on the couch were a little too conspicuous. Liam covered his mouth with his hand, his eyes darting between me and Zoe. He was smiling with a hint of schadenfreude. Zoe coldly handed me an envelope. Your acceptance letter came a few days ago. Just then, Chloe emerged from the shower, her hair damp. Zoe's eyes widened. Why are you showering in the middle of the afternoon? No one answered her. I looked with deep satisfaction at the 100% completion on my interface and said to the system, stop playing dead. Can I go back to the real world now? The system said placatingly, did I ever mention that the outside world has collapsed? What does that have to do with me? Well, I just got a notification from the programmers, some powerful entity destroyed the portal back to the real world, and the repairs will take 4 years. Please don't report me, you can just go to college here, it's a perfect 4 years. The universities here are top tier, I guarantee they're just as good as any Ivy League school. I ripped open the acceptance letter and mentally threw it in the system's face. To appease me, the system gave me all sorts of cheats and hacks. I became incredibly lucky, winning every raffle, getting impossible tickets, and hitting the jackpot on lottery tickets. At the dinner table, I mentioned, Chloe, maybe I should get a summer job? After all, I was the protagonist of this world, with a character model that had clearly been designed with care, broad shoulders, and a narrow waist. Zoe's methods for competing for my attention changed daily. The moment Zoe looked at me, I knew what she was thinking. For instance, Chloe's not home tonight, so it's my turn in his room, and true to form for a walker, Liam was still obsessed with witnessing some kind of chaotic scene and was always trying to help things along. Only Chloe was relatively normal. One day, she came home from a business meeting, her cool, woody scent mingled with the rich aroma of wine as she called my name softly, but her thoughts were screaming, "Let's have a baby." I just smiled faintly. "Chloe, I'm tired, graduation is tomorrow." At the graduation ceremony, Zoe stood in the audience holding a camera. Her expression was listless, but from the way her hand was shaking, she must have taken hundreds of pictures of me. Chloe stood beside me, her eyes dark and her mood clearly sour for some reason. Liam took a picture of me and Chloe, and as he handed it to me, he whispered, "Brother-in-law." I returned to the real world with 2 photographs and $50 million. One was the photo of me and Chloe as children, the other was the one from my graduation. I was smiling in both photos, but Chloe's expression was as placid and unreadable as ever. I was lying on my bed, counting my money, when the system blared an alarm. That powerful entity who destroyed the portal, she just tore a hole in space-time. My mind went blank. I clutched my money protectively. "What's malfunctioning now?" The system's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. "She's right next to you." I slowly turned my head and saw Chloe, sitting on the edge of my bed, stroking the 2 photographs. "I found you," she said.